It's FT, Braun Przinski, Kratz, the OG crew here, and we're reminiscing. This was year/season number 2 for Foul Territory, just getting started here, and it was fun. A lot of great interviews. Obviously, we're recapping again the 2024 year and the 2024 season. So let's go over some team accomplishments here in a little Charge the Mound action.
He's charging the mound.
So you can pick out memorable team moments, storylines, positive and negative, because we cover it all here. No rules, all authentic, unrestricted. Who wants to start with a good one first?
We'll let Kratz go first.
Okay.
Well, thank you. How are we not talking about team accomplishments? I know it didn't work out well, but the Yankees in the World Series. We talk about the fact that this team is, the most World Series victories of all time, all this stuff, history. They didn't make the World Series for a long, long time, and they finally made it this year. I know, Game 5, they fell flat on their face, but they were there. To me, that's great for baseball. You know why the Yankees made the World Series? Because it's one of my things. The AL was this year. Okay? I mean, the Yankees people said it. They had listen, this is nothing. It is a knock on the teams. But the Astros were this year, right? And then they had to play the AL Central, who the Yankees have dominated since the AL Central came into existence. So to me, it was just like, how bad was the American League this year? I know the Tigers had a nice run. The Royals made a nice run, made it to the postseason. But the team everyone was expecting, and most of us picked to go to the World Series, the Houston Astros, were this year. Had a down year, didn't have it. Their pitching wasn't as good. Their bullpen wasn't as good as we expected. They didn't hit as well as we expected. They had injuries. I get all that. But, man, just how bad was the AL, which allowed Kratz's team, the Yankees, to get to the World Series. It was a down year for the American League, and I'm an American League guy.
You know who had a big year? The AL Central.
I just said they all stunk.
Yeah, but they got 3 playoff teams in when before the season. I was one of them. I'm like, yep, bad division. Because you just start to get it in your head. You're like, oh, bad division. Well, no, it actually
and
got
one of them won the
better.
Twins, who a lot of people thought would win the division.
Exactly. The Twins actually, I'll put these two together. The Twins collapse and the karma from the way that they were run from the very top, right? Build up for a while, make it to the playoffs, win a playoff series for the first time in a billion years, make a ton of money as a franchise off playoff money. And then the owner's son or whatever, right? Joe Polad's like, yeah, we're going to have to trim the payroll. So they did. They lost depth. They lost some of their pitch. I mean, everything. They lost depth. They lost their soul, and they collapsed down the stretch. And then more of the same for the season after that. So the best thing that'll happen to the Twins is if they get sold ASAP, they are for sale. So if you know anyone, call a friend, get in touch with them. On the other side of that, the Detroit Tigers, wow, what a comeback. Nobody saw them making the playoffs up until the last few weeks of the season. It was crazy. It was so crazy that you didn't see that in July when they traded away Jack
Flaherty. I picked them at the beginning of the season to make the playoffs. I picked them at the beginning of the season. Go back and look at the notes.
I know you did, but August 10th,
not in July.
Did you see the Tigers making it?
No.
Yeah, exactly. They trade away Jack Flaherty. Obviously, they got a guy in return in Sweeney who was a big part of the team right away, but nobody saw this team doing what they were doing. Javi Baez somehow got even worse, and this team got better. This Tarek Skubal, who we talked about in the other episode, outstanding. By far one of the easier AL Cy Young picks. But credit to AJ Hinch for getting this team to where they got to, right? They even won a playoff series. You talked about Houston being a little down. The Tigers beat them. I know it's a short series. You get punished for not being a bye team, and they weren't, and they ran into a hot Tigers club that took them down.
Agreed. But you know why the AL Central had 3 teams make the playoffs?
Why?
Because they had the worst team of all time in their division, and they beat them up and beat them up and beat them up. I mean, the White Sox had the most losses of all time.
Yeah,
I know percentage-wise they because of the game thing, but they had 121 losses, and I believe the Tigers only lost 1 game to them, the Royals only lost 1 game to them, and the Guardians had the rougher time, still won the division. But those teams got into the postseason because they got to play the worst team of all time, and that's the White Sox.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about all the good. And listen, they had to beat them, but the AL Central was propped up because of a really historically awful team.
Yeah. Some players complained about that. They were like, hey, They have the White Sox in the division. I'm like, okay. Everybody's had that in the past. The Orioles were terrible for a while. Teams beat up on them in the AL East. The AL West has had their share of crap at the bottom of the division too. So everybody gets their time period where they're playing against a very bad franchise. I get this team set a record, but there's been plenty of 100-plus loss teams that have swayed how the win-loss record looks. And also, we have less divisional matchups, so at least it's a little more fair now. I do love the schedule change that MLB made. It accomplished two things. It made you a little bit less division reliant, and it gives more variety for fans. You get to see more teams against your ball club, especially when you're home, right? You want to give home fans an opportunity to see Shohei Ohtani show up at their ballpark. We were at a time not long ago where you'd have to wait years. So I like that a lot. I'll throw another one out there while we're talking about the Twins needing to be sold. What about the Orioles getting sold? I think it's going to be big for the long-term implications of that franchise. And it's not just what you will see ultimately with player transactions, but behind the scenes, there were a lot of corners being cut with Baltimore, right? Michael Elias had to balance the budget of even international scouting. The previous ownership group didn't really believe in that. So they just spent no money on it. That's insane. Imagine one huge piece of your prospect cupboard is just neglected. You can't do that. So huge for Orioles fans to have a new group that's going to come in and be a much bigger part of what's going forward and kind of supporting the team. So that one was big for me. I'm actually going to kick it to you for the next one, AJ, because you did a great job with the Fox team covering the Mets and the Phillies series. But that was a shocker.
After we all know Juan Soto signed with the Mets, but one of the leading factors of that is the Mets made it to the NLCS. They made the playoffs. They had the OMG thing. Well, then guess what a guy like Steve Cohen wants to do after that? He gets the taste, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wants the whole thing. So he's like, how can I get to the next level? I go out and sign Juan Soto. So the Phillies losing to the Mets, not that it was the impetus for it, but I'm sure that it didn't hurt Steve Cohen thinking like, if we get Juan Soto, we can take the next step, which is to get to the World Series. So the Phillies losing to the Mets, I'm sorry, Kratzy, and the way they did it and the way they beat them and the energy in Citi Field and the OMG and the whole deal they had going on there with Grimace and Pete's, what did Pete have? The little mushroom? What was it? A mushroom or something? Whatever.
The pumpkin.
The pumpkin. Sorry. They had the pumpkin carrying around.
Yeah.
I mean, they had so many gimmicks going on, so many skits, but the fans bought into all of them. And so for me, because the Phillies lost to the Mets and the Mets beat the Phillies, the Mets then are going to try and take the next step, which is signing Juan Soto and making other moves to try to move to the next level.
Might be the best division in baseball now, the National League East. And super surprised, super unlucky this year is all the Braves injuries. 2023, the Braves were unstoppable. I think they had 7 of the 9 starters, or they had 8 guys in the All-Star game. Like, they had historic seasons from everybody on that team. This year, Ronald Acuna goes down. Austin Riley goes down. Spencer Strider goes down, to name the big guys that went down for a majority of the season. And yet they still made the playoffs. I get it on the last day playing that doubleheader game, but it was amazing that they made it, but it was amazing how many injuries they had and how many down years they had, and they still made the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to wrap with 2 more, one positive, one negative. I mean, Oakland fans didn't deserve what happened out there with the A's, and I feel bad for Vegas fans if that owner is going to be running things out there. So hopefully that changes. It's just a baseball problem to get someone like that out of the sport. He doesn't like the sport. So hopefully that gets fixed. On the other side, you want a group that cares? Dodgers ownership. They put it all together this year. They've been a dominant team for a long time in the regular season. They want more playoff wins. They got themselves a little Shohei Ohtani, and they didn't stop there. They made brilliant trade deadline moves. Tommy Edman, what he did in the playoffs, incredible. Built a really good bullpen. Dave Roberts had his best managerial performance in the playoffs. Watching him for years, kind of have to play a lot of chess. And this year especially, they're down and facing elimination against the Padres in the DS, and they're able to come back. And then, of course, they win it all. So props to them, and the team looks like could be even stronger. So anyway, if we missed anything, let us know. If you're watching this afterward, you know how to find us. On socials, look up Foul Territory Show. In most cases, Twitter's Foul Territory TV because they limit us on characters. But anyway, Happy New Year to everyone, and we'll be right back. best time of the offseason. FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal with us right off the top. It's the Inside Scoop. Ken, let's get to the Yankees. Were you surprised that they ended up the winner of the Max Fried sweepstakes? And what else do you think they have up their sleeves?
A little surprised only because the rotation is a strength of this team. But at the same time, and you've heard this from others as well, I'm sure, when you're losing the offense, you're losing with Soto. It makes sense to pivot to a pitching defense model. Not that they're going to be a bad offensive team necessarily, but they're going to score fewer runs. So if you're going to score fewer runs, that enables you, or it may persuade you, to try to prevent runs at a better rate. And when you get Fried, now you have the ability to trade a starting pitcher, and they could do some things. They could trade Stroman, they could trade Nestor Cortez Jr., and maybe they could even trade American League Rookie of the Year Luis Hill. I just reported, and Joel Sherman reported this morning as well, that Hill could be a guy that you use in a Kyle Tucker trade if the Yankees are willing to do that. Now, to go to the next step, Kyle Tucker, a trade like that would be the equivalent of the Juan Soto trade last year in terms of getting a guy for only one more year of club control. And the Yankees might not want to do that again. But at the same time, Kyle Tucker is, like Juan Soto, an elite player, a different player than Soto, but one of the top 10 players in the game. And it's going to be really interesting to see how the Yankees leverage their pitching depth, if they do it all, and I expect that they will, as well as whatever else they might do to improve their offense. They've been in talks with Christian Walker at first base. They've got some other things that they can do as well. If Walker doesn't work out, there are other first basemen on the market. They are in a position now where they can maneuver in any number of ways, and they're exploring every possible option. And it's going to be fascinating to see how this matrix unfolds.
Is this indicative of the Yankees really wanting Fried over a Corbin Burns if they're in this market, or is it possibly the price that Corbin Burns is going to be asking based on what they paid for Fried?
They paid a high price for Fried. It's the biggest contract for a left-handed pitcher in the game's history. So it seems to me this was a clear preference for Fried. And yes, Burns is likely going to get more. We all know that. But Fried to them is a really good athlete, a Gold Glove winner, a guy with a great pickoff move, a guy who on the mound does more than just pitch, right? Burns, on the other hand, is a guy who allows stolen bases like crazy. Now, the Yankees have a lot of other things that they're considering when they look at these two guys, but that's got to be one of them. One of the problems with this team last year, despite them making the World Series, was their lack of playing the game in a proper way. And when you can't hold runners, that's one of the things that we're talking about. So I'm sure Fried's defense and his ability to hold runners appeal to them. And as well, he is one of the better pitchers in this sport right now.
Breaking news, Dallas, you're on for it. The Boston Red Sox are in the works to acquire Garrett Crochet.
Let's go.
Jeff Passan
Let's
said
go.
finalizing a trade. They're in the medical
You're
phase
booed,
of the
man.
deal.
This is
Not official.
This is exactly, Scotty. This is what I said yesterday on our podcast. Baseball is Dead. Check it out. Download, subscribe, leave a comment.
Yes, please.
I said Garrett Crochet. The reason I said Garrett Crochet was an opportunity for the Red Sox was the same reason I had pinpointed the Orioles as a landing spot for Garrett Crochet. Maybe giving this front office an opportunity to softly land with an individual who wants to be extended. The guy wants to perform, and the track record speaks for itself. This dude is an elite strikeout pitcher. He is a dominator. So when he's right, when he's healthy, you have a pretty good idea of what you're going to get. Now, it's a matter of him being healthy, but it's a matter of him saying, lock me up and I'll give you everything I got. And the Red Sox, I think, were in a position where it looks like they were not quite ready to commit the dollars to a Max Fried. They weren't quite ready to commit the dollars maybe to a Corbin Burns. So a Garrett Crochet is an opportunity for them to land a guy, to then extend a guy. And I think it could sort of keep the Wolves at the door. Maybe the Wolves aren't scratching. I don't know that they've left, but the Wolves aren't scratching at the door once they're able to land Crochet.
Let's keep talking about Crochet for a bit, okay? We got a few minutes here, your reactions, and I can give you more to the trade. Here's Ken on what they're acquiring. Top catching prospect Kyle Teal, outfielder Braden Montgomery, infielder Chase Midroth, right-hander Wickelman Gonzalez.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, you want to read these? Is this my job
Well,
still?
I mean, it is your job.
All right. Well, ready? Kyle Teal, Braden Montgomery, who I know both those.
Braden Montgomery,
And two
wasn't he
other
the guy who blew his
prospects.
leg out in the College World Series last year?
Who, Braden?
Braden Montgomery. Yeah, he was the guy who TX A&M guy, right?
You mean
Yeah,
his ankle and couldn't play?
Yeah, and he was trying to score from third and
Yeah.
hurt his leg.
Like a 6th pick or whatever?
Yeah, he was a pretty high draft pick.
Or no,
Good
6th
player.
pick was
Good player.
Christian.
Yeah, Stanford,
More.
A&M. Yeah, okay, good. All right, no Meyer, no Anthony, no. I mean, this
Yeah, but they got one of the big four. They got
yeah,
Kyle
but
Teal. So
I love
if-
that for the White Sox.
for the White
Kyle
Sox.
Teal, that's a great piece, but I would have liked to have seen for Crochet with the. I would have liked to
Really?
have seen a Meyer and Anthony. What's the other?
They
guy's
got
name?
two good position players, Montgomery and
Brandon
Teal.
Montgomery is a high draft pick, and he's got a chance to be special. So yeah, I mean, I like this haul. Campbell's the other one. Sorry, but I would have liked to have seen him get one of their top three. I mean,
but Teal could
Teal-
be.
Teal-
Teal is in their top three.
oh,
Yes,
Meyer?
he is.
No.
Anthony and Campbell are their
Most
top
people
three.
have Meyer 4 right now.
So he's fallen from 1 to 4.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Listen, I hope this works out. Montgomery, the 12th overall pick this year. Stanford, Texas A&M. Hope it works out. And the other guys, I since you butchered their names, Scott, I don't know who they are. But
Okay. Well, okay. First off, so Baseball America right now does have Roman Anthony 1, Christian Campbell 2, Marcelo Meyer is 3, Kyle Teal is 4 for them. So they got number 4 according to our trusty source, Baseball America. Go check out Hot Sheet next week. We'll be all over this. Braden Montgomery is number 6. It's a great arm. This is a guy who could be a really good ball player in the bigs. I mean, the White Sox are looking to fill up a roster. They have next to nothing right now. It's bare bones. So catcher of the future for them
yeah, 100%.
in Kyle Teal.
But they also have Edgar Kiro.
That's great.
So they have 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you need.
Plus Montgomery, plus Meadroth, who is number 8. I mean, they got 3 of their top 10.
Okay.
And then the dude who I butchered the name.
He
who I
was the one
don't
that's
know.
not in the top 10?
He's not in the top 10.
What's his name?
No, I'm not
Wilco.
saying. I can get the larger list. Hold on. He's number 16. I mean, these are high-ranked
That's
prospects.
good.
In the Red Sox farm system is
It's
top
high.
5.
Yeah, it's high. Listen, I hope it works out, and for both teams. Let's not forget Chris Sale was traded to the Red Sox for Kopech and Yohan Moncada and some other guys, and
Who cares?
You just never know with prospects.
Yeah, you got Sale. And
They got Sale, got a World Series, Sale, and so the White Sox got nothing out of that. Right?
and all you
I mean, not nothing, but they didn't get a World Series like they thought. Everyone thought Kopech, Moncada were going to be pieces that got them to the World Series.
you Red Sox fans, you know who you are right now. There were many of you that replied to some things we did and talked about, and there were many of you that replied to certain articles out on good publications, and you talked a lot of crap about Garrett Crochet. And I know what you're doing right now. You're going to those comments and you're deleting them, but I already saw them when we talked about it. You know who you are. You said Crochet wasn't worth it. It was only one good year. He's had an injury history. He's not an ace. You know who you are because you're going to be sitting in seats rooting for him to thrive. So you're ridiculous. You're delirious,
They're
as we
fans.
talked about the other day. They gave up a lot of prospects, and good for them. This pitcher costs nothing. This is what your owner's obsessed with. If your team's not going to spend at the top of the market for a player, then you're going to get a player that in free agency right now would have gotten at least $150 million, maybe more. I'm telling you, that would have been the price for a guy that's in his, mid-20s, who pitches like a 1. That's the cost, at least. So good for the Red Sox here.
Before we get to all the crazy moves that have been out there, do you feel different? Is it something that you're looking for the nude episode of the Sports Illustrated, whatever that was called, the skin episode?
The body issue.
Body, that's what it was. Is that what you're looking for?
I dare you. To be honest, what started the whole process is the achy knee, right? So you gotta take some pressure off that. That was the main goal this year, is to make sure that that's ready to where it needs to be, and so I don't have to manage that as, IL stints and stuff like that because I hated it. Hated not being able to play, and I hated the way I felt. So that was the big culprit of why to lose weight, why to, figure out how to, do everything you need to do to stay on the field and compete, because that's why we play, and you only get so many years to do it. So I'm going to try to make the best of it here. As I'm going to call this my last act. I don't know how many more years it's going to be, but I'm going to put my body in a situation I can play for as long as I want. And then, the body issue, maybe if I get hot this year when it's Cy Young, it just screams body issue. That's for sure.
What the heck's going on in St. Louis? They always are competitive. They never throw in the towel. They always are like, we're going to go.
I think you're seeing a full organizational reboot after years of kind of, I think I want to tell you, like, flipping and flopping back and forth, whether it's old school, this is how we play the Cardinal way, or hey, we're going fully analytically based and this and that, and they're trying to figure out how to combine both of them. And then by doing that, they're putting a hold on what they're doing in the major league level at this very moment. I don't think that it's going to last all off season. I think that they're seeing the landscape and seeing what they want to do, seeing, where they're at, whether it's, it sounds like, Nato might get traded or something like that. They're trying to free up some space for some of these young kids to take over, but also putting them in a spot to where they have the things around them to be able to be successful, where, some of that stuff is, it wasn't quite there, I think, at the minor league level, but it was at the big league level. But we don't have those things at the minor league level. When you get to the big league level, sometimes things speed up on you and you're not quite ready to compete at the big league level. So they're trying to change that on the way up, which was different. When I was coming up through the minor leagues, it was they got you ready to play in the big leagues and they got you ready to compete to win. It wasn't just to get there. It was the, hey, you better be able to help us win when we get there. Where now it's like you get there and it's like, hey, well, we just tried to get you here and now figure it out on your own. So I think the whole organization is trying to reboot, and I got to talk to him a little bit this year, and we got to pick each other's brain. I think he's going to do a great job of building that system back up, because they've got some talent now. It's just making sure those guys are ready to compete and at the highest level to win games. And there's some talent there to win right now. It's just how you want to go about plugging the final holes here in free agency, which it sounds like they're going to do it on the market of veterans at the very end, guys that might have, slipped past later in the offseason.
Now, I know right before you came on here, some news broke. I know you were probably doing the shake weight and the thigh master, so you might not have seen the news of Crochet getting traded.
I did. I saw that it was in a process, right? Is it official?
What's Boston getting? What's Boston getting in that guy? Yeah, it's not finalized yet, but it's in the process.
Yeah, it's happening.
So Garrett was so when I was there, he was a young reliever, right? Because they got him right out of the draft in COVID, put him in the bullpen, and he always wanted to start. I remember as a reliever, he was throwing high leverage situations 2 innings at a time, but he would still always pick everybody's brain in the starting rotation on things, and he would always pay attention to routines and ask you about how to take care of his arm and what you feel in between starts and stuff like that. So he was doing his homework early on to make sure he was going to be a starter. He never let that go. Every year it was like, hey, I want to start. I'm going to do whatever you ask me to do. I want to be a big leaguer, but I'm going to start. Just let you know. And I think that's what you're getting. You're getting a guy that's determined to be good. He's determined to do it at a high level, and he's determined to do it for a long time. And my man, when he's on the mound, he wants to shove it down your throat. So, I mean, whoever gets him, you're getting a guy who wants the ball. He wants to dominate whoever's in the box, and he wants to do it for a long time.
Good talking to you.
Thanks, Lance.
Thank you. See ya. FT fam, be right back. In the weeds today, we're digging into legendary Hall of Famer Barry Larkin, former Cincinnati Red. Just 19 full seasons in the bigs. Big dude. 9-time Silver Slugger, former MVP, a 12-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glover, elected into the Hall of Fame in 2012, and was part of a group that kind of changed the perspective on what the position looks like. But Todd, Father, your thoughts on Barry? And I know he's around the team quite a bit now. He does, broadcasts some of the games as an analyst, but did you know him well back then? Was he around the team, and how much was he beloved in Cincinnati when you were there?
And I think you hit that well, beloved. He was a guy, first time I ever met him, you see him. I think I was at a Reds Fest in the winter, and just a guy where when he walked in the room, he caught your attention. And one of those guys like, oh, there he is, and, he was kind of under the radar, but not really, wasn't the biggest of shortstops. Back then you got guys like the Cal Ripkins, and the shortstops were bigger. He was a smaller guy. It was kind of separate when it came to the American League and National League, considering like the American League was the shortstops, the guys, and they can mash and do this. But Barry Larkin was an absolute stud, an absolute beast, and he, overall his numbers were just as good, if not better than some of them. A Hall of Famer for sure.
Yeah, he was a beast. All right, so let's run through the Hall of Fame journey that he took us through for Reds fans. There he is. How good was Barry Larkin? Signature's clean too. 1995 is when he won the NL MVP award. For you War nerds out there, he finished with a 70.5 number. That is above the mark. There's that delineation. What is the mark? Is it in the high 50s, I want to say? And if you're above that mark, usually the guys get
55 or
voted
56.
in. Yeah, so he's good. And he kept the batting average nice and tight for the old school crowd. I mean, he was close to 300 for his career. On base percentage, 371. He was on base 37% of the time. The Gold Glove, the Silver Slugger, just the all-around shortstop and a five-tool player. And now we're running through the baseball reference page a little bit. I always like to check out the OPS plus action. Kratz put up a 155 number actually in 1996, the year after he won the MVP award. And then the stolen base numbers too were pretty solid at some points, including 51 of them in 1995, which looked nice and shiny back then. But what do you like?
I always go directly to the walks and strikeouts. If we put that graphic back up, if you're watching right now, the bottom of the screen shows everything you need to know about a Hall of Fame player. The WAR, we don't know what it means, but all that stuff, almost a 300 hitter, just a bit shy of 200 homers. I'm sure he wish he had two more, but it's the walks to the strikeouts. He had 939 walks in his career, 817 strikeouts. The most he ever struck out in a season was giggity, 69. Like, you sit there and you go, this dude's getting on base. This dude, and I think it took him a little bit because he doesn't have those big numbers. He doesn't have 500 homers. He doesn't have 3,000 hits. But I think his career is really exemplified because very few of these players matter anymore. And so we lose the fact that a player like this was not the norm, and he was elite during his time. You look at all those all-star games. You look at the fact that he made an all-star team his last season. You look at the fact that, yes, his OPS plus isn't super high. He's not a 100 WAR player that's guaranteed in right away. But the more time he's out of the game, and it took him a few more years to get voted in, the more you appreciate what he actually did out on the field, because we just don't have this. We don't have dudes like this right now that are in the game, and he did it for 19 seasons, which is bananas.
You don't think we have comps? I'm not talking about swing. I'm talking about the production.
No.
We don't. That gets complicated. But I'm talking. You don't think there's a shortstop that's putting together the kind of production that Barry Larkin does right now?
Not the same way. And I know I'm really waiting.
Not the same way?
I'm really waiting. I have a higher weight put on the walks to strikeouts because dudes are encouraged. Let me pull it up here. They're encouraged to. So he had a season of 20 homers, 33 dingers, and 17 dingers. Okay. Now teams are going to say, I need you to get to that 33 home run plateau every season. I need you at the 20 home run plateau every season. That's just going to automatically put more strikeouts on your ledger. I don't care what anybody says. Very few people can do it without adding the home runs. I mean, can't add strikeouts without adding home runs.
It's a different game though now. So to be fair, I mean, Gunnar Henderson, all around talent.
Way better.
There's what do you mean way better?
Gunnar Henderson's way better. Like he has a way better. Like he has a variety, but he's going to punch out a ton. He's not going
So
to.
you're just saying the strikeouts in particular, right? Because obviously
the strikeout. That's what I'm saying.
Superstar shortstop. These are MVP candidates in our game right now.
Yes,
both top 10 players in the league in the past year. But you're just saying the strikeout part. But it's a different game. There also weren't as many swing and miss.
That's why I'm saying there's nobody. That's why I'm saying there's nobody. There's no like. It's hard to comp somebody like this because this type of player doesn't exist now. I mean, that's what I said. And you said, well, there's no similarities. There's people who are playing legit MVP style shortstop, but they're pumping out 35 dingers. Gunnar Henderson, Corey Seager. Look at what Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa would be the closest that I came to finding somebody, and I don't have it up right now, but I can tell you what he did. To me, he has the ability to lower his strikeouts. And he's still up above 100 five different times in his career. So I'm saying that style of player is around still, but they don't have the production numbers are not the same. And that's why I think we need to celebrate a guy like Barry Larkin because we just don't see it right now.
That's why. All right, let's keep this going. So is there a hitter in either of your minds right now that has a similar hitting profile? Now take the position part out of it. Like for me, I was thinking about Jose Ramirez, pretty low strikeout numbers from what I recall. I'm going off the top of my head, and yet still gives you the pop, puts together a nice average, doesn't walk a lot.
The first guy that came to my head when you said comparison would be a Bogarts to me. You guys might think differently. I don't know. I just think kind of similar, the way they play defense, the way they go about their business a little bit. They both are very productive hitters too as well. So not saying he is, but I'm just saying, the types of similarities.
I'm looking that up right now. I'm not hating it right out of the gate. The person I thought of, person I thought of was Bregman. I know he plays a different position. He's got more thump than Barry does, but I truly believe that some guys, just the way that they swung, shorter swing, compact swing, had they played in this era, they would have been able to hit more homers. You got to think, Barry played his entire career on what? Turf. You put the ball in the air, there's a chance you're getting out. You put the ball on the ground, there's a chance you're getting a double in the gap on the ball that the shortstop dove for. Like, that ball was rolling, and that was real turf. I'm not talking about grass turf either. That was like concrete turf. So it's different, especially, but the bat-to-ball skills, to me, I would say a Bregman type.
It's good. All right, this is fun. If you like this, let us know. If you're watching it after the fact, drop a comment and throw another player out there that we take a little deep dive into and ask the guys about. So we'll swing right back. Yes, the Cy Young winner in the National League joining us right now. It's Chris Sale of the Atlanta Braves. Hey, Chris, awesome to have you on right after this. Congrats, man. How's the last 12, 16 hours been for you?
It's been busy. A lot of phone calls, a lot of text messages, but definitely worth it.
I'm disappointed, by the way. I thought we had Tarek Skubal. I wanted to talk to a unanimous Cy Young Award winner. Instead, you didn't get 4 votes. I don't know. I'm mad at you a little bit right here. You couldn't get all 30.
Well, if you were a better host, you might have got the better pitcher, but
It's a good point. That's a great point. I tried.
I love it. Yeah. Hey, he always says he taught you everything. So he starts with the White Sox. All these years later, he's the National League Cy Young.
I never would thought he'd be a National League Cy Young. I thought he'd be a White Sox for life, But when him and Frazier decided to go around cutting up jerseys, the White Sox, these two clowns, they're out.
Hey, how bad do you miss the White Sox right now, Val?
Oh,
that's great.
I had obviously the best year of my career. I'd win the Cy Young, and one of my losses was to the worst team in the history of the game. So hey, keep your chin up, stay humble, kid.
That's true. That's very true. Hey, what's the best reach out you've gotten so far from someone? Besides AJ and Todd Father and your former teammates here, but obviously, a good call or text, or whether it was the note itself or just the person.
Probably the most satisfying was the call to my dad. He's the one that's been there my whole life. I mean, he's the amount of baseballs he's thrown me, the amount of times he's gotten behind a plate to catch a bullpen when I was a kid. I mean, it was that was a fun phone call to make.
So the first time you were on, not when we saw you at the All-Star game, but I asked you, are you a Hall of Fame pitcher? And your answer was kind of, well, no, if Burley's not, then I'm not. After this season, and clearly it's now not your last, are you a Hall of Fame pitcher?
No. Not as it sits right now.
Okay. That's a little different. That's a little different of an answer, though. Did you know that you could do this coming into the season had you stayed healthy?
Oof. I will say this. I would say I wasn't expecting to do this, right? To win a Cy Young award. That was probably a little bit aggressive. I had confidence in myself. I just knew that I needed to be healthy. I know what I can do when I'm healthy and when I'm on a baseball field. And I just knew that I needed to execute that. I needed to stay healthy to be able to perform. So I had the confidence in my stuff when I was healthy. It was just, am I going to be healthy? And, thankfully it worked out.
Well, two things. First of all, I know you're not teaching your kids anything. First of all, you went to Lakeland High School and then you went to FGCU. Neither one of those are as highly rated as Dr. Phillips. Okay, so I know that your wife is Brianna's doing all the work. Bree's doing all the work. You're just sitting back and hopefully you're like, hey kids, look, it's Big Ben over there. It's the Liberty Bell. So I understand how that works. Now, what changed? What changed in your health? Because you were in Boston. You were always healthy. I remember how many talks did we have? His locker was next to mine. We'd have talks, and he's like, man, every team, that's why I fell, was they thought I was going to blow out, right? And you went years and years and years until, it happened. And then he comes back, and you had some weird things. But then this year, you put it all back together at an advanced age. So what changed? And was it your workout routine? Was it your in-between start prep? Was it something the Braves did differently than what the Red Sox are doing? What was the key for you?
Well, to touch on the homeschooling first, I'm the PE teacher. So
yeah.
When they get to the end of their line, we'll go downstairs and play some ping pong, or take them out and get some wiffle ball, make some football passes, stuff like that. So I'm very lucky. My wife, my mother-in-law, and our nanny are holding it down on the school front. This year, honestly, I would say just being healthy was the biggest thing. Having a good, healthy off season as well. The last few years, there are a couple of years I didn't pick up a baseball until like January, and that's just way too late. I knew last year going into the off season, I needed to just play catch. I needed to throw. I need to get my arm in just throwing shape, playing a lot of long toss. Heck, I was getting off the mound in like December last off season, so I just really needed to focus on like the kind of the baseball stuff, getting back into throwing more and getting my arm in shape. And then, I kind of tweaked a little bit of my routine in between starts, with some of the stuff throwing wise, some of the stuff in the weight room, some of the stuff in the training room, and had a lot of help to get there too. So I really just kind of leaned on everybody around me to kind of get me through this and kind of fall in place where I needed things to what I needed to do and when I needed to do them.
Hey, you guys get to go to Bristol this year and play in the NASCAR stadium. Are you excited about that? Because it breaks up the monotony of just every game. So you get to go to a different park Saturday night. You get the Sunday following off. I think they're trying to make it the biggest crowd in the history of MLB. Are you going to go to Snit and say, Snit, I want that game?
I would love that. and I'm all for it too. So in 2019, with the Red Sox, we played the Yankees in London, and I mean the travel was tough. The plane we took was ridiculous, but which made it a lot better. But I thought that was a blast. You know, it was obviously a launching pad, so I'm glad I'm glad I missed that series pitching wise. But just a fun experience, especially it's almost like you're going on a trip, you know, to London in the middle of the season. So it definitely did break it up, and they did a good job of putting that, you know, close to the All-Star break. So we kind of catch our breath after some long travel. But I'm all in for this kind of stuff, man. You know, anything to kind of make the game a little bit more exciting. You know, playing a game in a place that has probably never seen a professional baseball team. So I'm for it. And I'd love to pitch.
Yeah, the only way you could throw there, though, is you got to wear a 1920s wool uniform. Are you all right with that or no?
I still got it.
Oh, that's all. Oh, that's great, dog. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Oh man,
I love it. Wait, what is that?
it looked like I don't look like a shank. What, you got a
Box
shank?
cutter.
What was that
A
thing?
knife.
That thing? Oh, that's the cutter.
The pocket knife. I don't know if we this might be a little family friendly. So
Hey, listen, for people that don't know where Lakeland is, that everyone in Lakeland carries one of them.
Everybody has one.
Oh, in Lakeland, but 100%. I mean, everyone they got. Lakeland's a place where they had the gun racks in the back of their truck.
Yeah.
With the guns still. Sale was in high school. I guarantee you had the gun rack in the back of his short bed Ford, and he had the friggin' gun, the shotgun, so he could go right to hunting right after school.
yeah, not in my truck. I'm not that old.
Well, Chris, this was awesome, man. Congratulations again on the Cy Young dub, and thanks for stopping by to hang with us. Really appreciate it, but what a year.
No, I appreciate it, guys. I love coming on here, so hit me up whenever. I'm down.
All right, we're excited for this one. 5-box action on FT right now. Luis Gil is the American League Rookie of the Year, starting pitcher for the New York Yankees, joining us right now, along with Rafa Nieves, who's going to help us on the translation from English to Spanish and then Spanish back to English. So, Luis, thank you so much for the time. You've got me, Eric Kratz, and Trevor May. And Rafa, thank you as well. And hello, congratulations. And how has the past couple weeks been for you winning the AL Rookie of the Year award?
Él dice que, primero que nada, felicidades, que cómo han pasado las últimas 2 semanas para ti después de ganar el novato del año.
Muchas gracias por las felicitaciones. Estas 2 semanas he estado practicando fuerte para llegar fuerte a la temporada, si Dios lo permite.
He said thanks for congratulating me. The last 2 weeks I've just been working hard, getting ready to come back next year and, you know, put up a stronger year.
¿Me recuerdas?
Claro.
Sí, yo soy receptor en 2020 at the alt site. ¿Entiendes?
Que si te acuerdas de él, que él era el catcher cuando estaba en la pandemia, en el alternate side, en el campamento alterno.
Claro que me recuerdo. Claro que sí.
Sí, solo calvo persona
Wait.
in the alt
Kratz,
site. So what
I'm going to interrupt you there.
was,
You got to give us all the English first. You guys can't just have your own conversation in Spanish.
Yeah, you got to translate yourself. Yeah.
I got to translate myself. Okay. I just asked him if he remembered me because we played together at the alt site in 2020.
You and a teammate of yours were actually in the finals for the Rookie of the Year with Austin Wells, and he was also your catcher for a lot of your games. What was it like going through your rookie year with another guy learning, and how did you guys learn to work together?
Dice que este año tú estuviste de finalista en el novato del año con otro de tus compañeros, con Austin Wells. ¿Cómo fue el proceso de ustedes dos acoplándose como novatos y aprendiendo el uno del otro durante un año de novato?
Te digo, el proceso fue muy bueno, tú sabes, porque los dos cogimos la misma experiencia de jugar en Grandes Ligas y aprender cómo se juega el deporte. Nosotros solo hacíamos, tú sabes, lo que teníamos que hacer, pues, hacer el trabajo para ayudar al equipo y fue muy buena comunicación entre él y yo y muy buen proceso.
He says it was a great experience. There was a lot of good communication, and they were very happy to work together and help a team, get to where they went this year. But it was he means that he was special. I heard him say before that working with Wells both as rookies, they feed off each other.
Louis, you throw. I'm the pitching guy. I'm the one that talks about pitching on this show, and I got a question. You throw your cambio. I did it too. Change up and your slider almost exactly the same amount. Which pitch do you like more, your changeup or your slider?
Él dice que Trevor es el que se encarga aquí de los pitchers, él es el que habla de picheo aquí. Él dice que tú el cambio y la slider lo usas con la misma frecuencia. Que ¿cuál de los dos es tu favorito?
Yo tengo los dos, ¿sabes? Los dos son mis favoritos en conteo. Uno necesita de tirarlo y el que yo quiera tirarlo, ¿sabes? Yo solo trato de tirarlo bien, que me salga bien y ejecutar el picheo. Son los dos buenos.
He said they're both good and he trusts both and he can use either one in any count. He just goes to whichever he feels is better for the situation.
Can you talk about the impact that Garrett Cole had on your season, both with any tips that he provided, but also obviously you don't want anyone to be hurt, but if he doesn't get hurt at the beginning of the year, maybe you don't get that chance right away to be in the rotation.
Que si puedes hablar un poquito de la relación y de lo que aprendiste de Garrett Cole y que desafortunadamente uno no le desea el mal a nadie, pero si él no se lesiona al principio de la temporada, tú no hubieras tenido la oportunidad que se te presentó.
Tú sabes, así mismo es, uno nunca desearía que se lesione a alguien para uno meterse, ¿tú me entiendes? Uno quiere meterse con su trabajo, haciendo el trabajo, ¿tú me entiendes? ¿Qué te digo? Garrett Cole me enseñó bastante, tú sabes, de cómo manejar las situaciones, de cómo aprender del juego, ¿tú me entiendes? Y cómo atacar a los bateadores. Garrett Cole me ha enseñado bastante y espero en Dios que me siga ayudando. Es una muy buena persona.
He said he agrees he never wishes bad on anyone. He would rather his talent take him to where he needs to be and not someone's injury. But Garrett has been a great influence on him. He has taught him a lot. He has taught him how to handle the situations and the emotions when he's on the mound, how to attack hitters, and that he hopes that he keeps learning from Garrett in the near future.
Qué importante es tu moda, fashion? How important is your fashion to you?
Es muy importante la moda, el flow para ti.
Eso tú sabes. Tengo que aprovecharlo en vacaciones.
Flow.
Tengo que aprovecharlo en vacaciones, tú sabes. Y me gusta siempre vestir bien así y parar bonito todo el tiempo.
He's got to take advantage of it during the off season. He likes to look fresh.
Todo tiempo. What did you say? Flow in moda?
Flow.
Flow.
Drip.
Flow. It sounds like
you gotta use drip.
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 There's no exact translation for drip. It's like a la vaina. Like la vaina can be anything.
Well, Luis, thank you so much for joining us. This was awesome. Great to have you on here. And of course, Rafa, thank you so much for helping us here with the translation. We appreciate the time and have a great off season. Hey guys, so a fan question from Brett, because we just had the Boone in-game interview while Giancarlo hit the homer. So I think he was like, bang, as he's talking to Verducci. Brett says, what are y'all's opinions on the live mid-game interviews?
I think it's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I know when players do it, they pay us. So if anybody wants to interview me mid-game, I'm down. I'll throw that out there.
I will say for the record that we did a Grayson Rodriguez this year. A game I did on Fox, we got Grayson, and you're welcome, Grayson. If they paid you, I deserve a cut. Because they asked me who we wanted on the Orioles, and I said, I want Grayson. Because when you came on earlier on the year with us, I said, they were like, who do you think? And I'm like, I'll take Grayson. And so you came on when we had a Fox game. So if you got money, I deserve like 45% of it, something like that.
Wow, that's a tough agent cut. 45%.
Just shoot me your address after this, and I'll mail you some Jimmy's crab cakes, some Jimmy's famous crab cakes from Baltimore.
Oh, okay. I want the egg roll crab. I want the egg roll crab cake.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, dude, the egg rolls, they're good, dude. Rook, have y'all ever gone to Jimmy's when y'all are in Baltimore?
Never been to Jimmy's.
I think sometimes they cater it maybe to the stadium, but dude, it is real. It is like the best seafood you will ever eat. Not even close. I mean, it's insane. It is insane for sure.
Isn't
they always
Jimmy's
show it?
The group that said if you sign this guy, we'll give him lifetime something? I'm trying to remember who. Does that sound familiar? Who was that?
Yeah. So obviously, they're pretty active on Twitter.
Yeah.
They do a lot of like WWE, NFL. Anytime there's a primetime game in Baltimore for football, the TV crews will have cameras over at Jimmy's showing them making the crab cakes and all the different stuff.
That's cool.
But yeah, dude, Jimmy's famous. That's the best thing ever for sure.
Okay. So do you want to start?
Last week, was it last week? Right here, boom. Last week, I received a package from Jimmy's Seafood in Baltimore.
Oh, yes.
And I was wondering where it came from because it didn't say who it was from. So I had to do some digging. And it came from Grayson Rodriguez.
Cool.
Who sent it to me because we had him on that World Series watch party.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Jimmy's in Baltimore. So he sent me, if we could show that again, crab cake egg rolls, which if you haven't had them are delicious.
Nice.
And then crab cake. So that's my crab cake egg roll dip in the red. And then obviously butter and Old Bay for the crab cakes. But I mean, what a lunch.
Yeah.
So make it at home just like HelloFresh. But, with Grayson Rodriguez sends you something, you kind of got to make it.
It's funny. I remember the day that it was sent. I was leaving and you were like, did you send this? Is this a sponsor?
I was like, yeah. And Kratz was
Kratz
like, I ain't getting no Jimmy's.
No. What do you think about this series as a whole, right? Like this has been, hyped up a ton. It hasn't happened in a long time where you get two iconic franchises. There's superstars involved. They've got their own really unique storylines. Ohtani's hurt now and playing. Judge was really, really cold and now starting to heat up. And on top of everything else, it's the anniversary of the 04 Red Sox, 20 years. And this is 3-0. And right now on pace to be 3-2 back to Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, it checks every box, right? I mean, 48 hours ago, I would have said this stinks, that it is all the things you just said. And it was 3-0 Dodgers. And that game one was so amazing, right? You're like, oh my God, this series is going to be insane. Like game one was one of the coolest playoff, nonetheless, World Series games I've ever seen. And I was a part of the 2017 Astros Dodgers stuff, and how crazy some of those games were. And then now it got to 3-0 and you're like, man, this sucks. Like, can the Yankees even make it interesting? Like 3-0 is the only, what you just said, the Red Sox is the only other time it's even happened. So it doesn't feel like it's possible. And here we are on the verge of 3-2 and doubt starts creeping in your mind if you're a Dodger. And then on the other side, the Yankees start getting some confidence and all that comes with it. So it has a chance now to be one of the craziest World Series we've ever seen, which with these two franchises, that's what you want. So hopefully it can come to that. Like, let's get to a game 7. Dodgers win, that's cool. But like just getting to a game 7 would be absolutely insane now. So that's what I'm rooting for.
If you look at analytics as a whole, which is unfair to just say like generally speaking analytics, they're not built for a 5-7 game series. They're built for 162. Like what's going to help me get to the playoffs? Once I get to like, I haven't paid enough NL, but the Dodgers, other than Freddie being hurt, right? Like that changes things. But those 3, 4, 5 guys, like if you want to put Teoscar and Will Smith in there, like that's their top 5 pretty much every single day. Like Kike in the playoffs has been unbelievable. I think he's hitting 5th right now. But like you look at Texas last year, I remember we were always talking in the clubhouse, like we always were like, Texas is going to win the World Series because they play the same lineup every day.
Same
like,
lineup,
these guys are just, you show up and you know your role. And that's important. Like I totally get why you want to mix it up and get everybody in the game, change the game a little bit, speed, athleticism, different things like that. But it is interesting to see like what wins and, what might not win.
But also, I think there's an argument too. Like the reason they games and the reason they are in the ALCS is because this is how they played all year. So 100%. It's like, why would you shift? Why would you change it now? Like, why would you manage or or do anything differently. And once you get to the playoffs, when like what you've been doing is what got you to this position and made you win 90 whatever game. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I just like that's why I go. You got to go with the season's almost over, right? The 162 is the marathon is done. Now it's like who's giving me the best at bats? Who's giving me the quality at bats? That's why I agree with Law. It's like you got to put your best. The Yankees have done it, like Vinny said. The Yankees no pinch hitters. They running out the same lineup, whether they move somebody in a different spot or not, and it's like they're getting a rhythm offensively. It seems like from time to time. So I'm just curious, bro, on this side of it. You know, I look at it like that because I used to be like as a pinch hitter. Sometimes I'd be watching the game and dude has 2 or 3 at bats, and they're like, "Hey, can't we get a bat?" And I'm like, "Let him get this one. He loose."
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying, especially they in Cleveland. It's cold. This man finna have to come off the bench.
Hey, Law does not like the cold. If it's less than 60, Law's got ski mask and like hand warmer on.
Y'all see how Jazz. I'm just like Jazz, man. I'm wearing the ski mask.
You said some nice things about catchers on here. There are some catchers who are no fun that are arguing with the umpire every single pitch.
For sure.
Like, oh, that's a strike. Like, there's multiple times where I've looked back and been like, that's not even close to a strike. Please don't listen to it.
You liar. What are you talking about?
Yeah, like,
were you really that nice? Were you really that nice about it? Like, were you?
No, I am. I am not like. There's been one catcher I've gotten into it with where I got into it with a catcher after a walk where I was like,
really?
I think I said like, shut the F up. You've been arguing all game. That's a ball. Like, shut up.
Cut it out, dude. Ball.
I bet that was Shea, wasn't it?
No, Shea's cool too. Shea's cool.
Obviously, I've never hit when Shea is catching, but Shea has to be the nicest catcher in the league because he's the kindest person of all time.
I would say it's like 80% great guys. Like
yeah.
But there are definitely some where it's like, man, like don't like let's just do the what's up, man? How you doing? You know, let's move on.
Some of the closers are going through it right now in the playoffs. Do you feel for them? Like Clase, has given up more in 5 seconds than he gave up the entire year. Josh Hader gave up a big knock earlier. Who was the other one? Devin Williams, the homer to Pete Alonso. Like, these are your, like, top dogs.
Yeah, man. I mean, the lights, the fans, everything's a little louder, a little brighter. And you definitely want to be in that moment for sure. But, so does that guy in the box. So I think it really has to come down to, how many times a guy's seeing somebody and kind of the game plan and the situations you're prepping for as a hitter. It's like you almost know that you're going to get, the late inning guy, 4 or 5 run game, anything less than that. Those big moments coming in, you've seen Weaver come in for 1+ probably almost every time he's pitched. So it just adds up, man. I mean, you see what a guy's trying to do, and additionally to seeing him during the year. So
the Yankees fans are going to be pissed.
Is there anyone in the league you'd rather have up runner on third base less than 2 outs than Steven Kwan though? Like
seriously.
Wait, Naylor got the third on that? That was a triple?
It's a ground ball.
No, they got a ground out. Rocchio hit a ground out to get the third. Yeah,
I can hear it right now, Scott. I can hear the Yankees fans going, "We should foul territory, had Mason Miller on. He should be pitching for us right now in the playoffs. We should have traded for it."
Oh my gosh,
he's clean shaved. He's clean shaved too. He looks like it too.
Clean shave. He's clean shaven too.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
easy.
losing it.
There's not going to be anything that's going to have to get shaved off.
Hey, Cam, I just got a text from a crazy Yankees fan that said it's over. We're going to lose. Like it's
wow.
I mean,
that's aggressive.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's got a pop up.
Oh my God, David Fry. Cam?
Hey, here he goes. Here's my guy. David Fry, right here.
And you guys did it once to us this year where you told us, like, hey, it's a bullpen day. This guy's probably going to go bulk. But then the game plan kind of changed. And I've never been more mad in my life than those 2 days. Because it's like we go through like hours of game planning. And then it's like, okay, this guy's coming in, this weird lefty who's like the herder guy. That's who it was. That Dave View. He's 4 feet behind me. all right, I got to do a bunch of work to work on that angle.
Angle toss, yeah.
It was like righty, 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 righty. Oh, Herder's coming in the 6th. I had one for 4 that day. Got the hit off a Herder.
To be fair, the reason they do that is because your lefty and righty splits are like very even. So they're not pitching like you do the same thing off left on right on. You actually walk more than you strike out against lefties, which I think is insane. But that's why you're going to get righties is because like you're neutral. There's no advantage. It's like, all right, who's hitting after you and who's hitting before you? At least that's what I was thinking. I don't know.
That makes total sense. Yeah.
Which luckily for me is 2 Hall of Famers that I hit in between. So
yeah, that's good.
Normally the righties come in anyway, just to go get those guys, and I get to reap the benefits of that.
Yeah. When you step in the box and there's a runner in scoring position, and I'm like, I actually can't strike this guy out. I need him to hit it right at somebody and stay in the infield somehow. Luckily, and it's like when you have to do that against a hitter, when you're on the mound, it's like you're not as confident as you are when a guy has a little bit of chase, or you can make some pitches and get a guy to swing and miss in certain situations. So,
is Jake Rogers as good as I think he is at game calling?
Yeah, he's awesome. I think we go over scouting report stuff and we create a plan of what we want to do, and then there's been so many times where I have the scouting report in my brain of like, all right, this guy's in the box. I need to make this pitch. If I want to get missed, it's here. If I want to get ahead, it's here, right? And he'll go completely off that. And I'm like, dude, what? This is not what we went over 2 hours ago. But I just trust him, and it works. So I don't think twice, and maybe in a bigger moment, I'll shake off to a pitch that and just trust the numbers. But I think that he's so great back there that I don't do a ton of shaking. I think the rhythm there too is great for me on the mound, but I can't say enough good things about that guy.
How tired are you right now, bro? I know you want to win a World Series, but when it's over and done, like, do you sit back and go like, holy cow, like that was exhausting. That took a lot to do what you did this year. I mean, how do you feel right now, bro?
Honestly, I feel all right now, but it was like
he's like 17 years old. Yeah, come on, man. He's
right?
Like, what are you talking about? 150.
Like a month ago was whenever I hit a little, like, body was feeling a little bit, and then playoffs hit, and I was like, all right, got a second wind, and so now I was kind of riding that high for a little bit, and so, but yeah, I feel good.
What
fun
about
year.
that itch? You got that itch now. You guys got that itch now. How much fun was that, man? That was a ball watching you boys.
Yeah, it was awesome. Just out in Kaufman, playoff baseball, just going to Baltimore, it was pretty special, and just that clinching, that first shower was special. It was really fun, and now it's like, for me, like the past 2 years watching the postseason, I'm like, oh, kind of tuned in and everything. This year, I'm like, I don't even want to watch it because I was like, that could be us type thing. And so, but yeah, it's been good.
Thanks again, Vinny, Brent, Cam. You guys were awesome. Thanks to all the guests. Thanks to the chat that was with us through way here. Anyone who's watching on YouTube, Twitter, all those spots. Appreciate you, FT fam. That's good. This is so petty. We do the award goes to segment for the rookie of the year, managers of the year, those kind of people we bring on the show. And now we're doing it for the worst contracts that are running right now in today's sport, in today's Major League Baseball, right? Mm-hmm. Ranking MLB's worst. There it is. Cody Stidham.
I don't even have to. I didn't even read it. I can tell by the picture who it's going to be.
But
can you tell the top 5?
Number one is obvious.
Number one is obvious. I can tell that right for what we're watching. It's going to be Hollywood Anthony Rendon.
Of course.
I mean, that's got to be it. I didn't even look. I saw the article and I tried to click on it. Didn't work, so I didn't even see it. So way to go,
on another
producer
planet. Lady. But who else do you know that's in here? I want to go through the rankings.
All right, now I see the top 10.
Wait, you see it?
Or the top? Yeah. Now I see.
I wanted you to guess.
Oh, it's too late. Javi Baez would have been on my list.
Yeah, he's number 3.
Because he doesn't play and he doesn't have power anymore.
1, 2, 3 are easy for me.
Chris Bryant, I forgot he even played anymore sometimes because he's not on the field ever.
It's Rendon, Chris Bryant, and Javi Baez in a tier of their own right now.
He didn't play last year. He got hurt. He missed most of the year, remember, with a hip injury, or I think it was a hip injury.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the problem is when he played, he didn't do anything.
No,
he lost his power.
He's broken
the
down.
fact that when I go on Twitter X every time when there's a Tigers game, And there is the meme of like the guy setting up 17 feet outside, or like when 50 Cent threw his first pitch and it went over there. And then Javi Baez, they have the Javi Baez swing. It's kind of funny.
Do you know that
it's also sad because that dude was good,
he
man.
was good. Do you know his strikeout rate's actually down quite a bit since he joined the Tigers? It was at like 36% with the Cubs, and it's like in the low to mid 20s. He's got no pop anymore. He gets beat by fastballs, which is what he used to feast on. He's just a shell of himself.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It's sad.
Okay, so that top three is easy. I don't think there's much debate there. I think it starts to get interesting.
After this, the rest of them are, you can make a serious argument about the rest of them.
Look at him. He's ready. You see Kratz? Go ahead, Kratz. You
ready? He's going to say, Castellanos is worthy because he's on the Phillies.
No, forget that. We'll get to
Castellanos. Giancarlo Stanton, I played with him once, so he's
I'm actually with you here, Kratz. Giancarlo Stanton at number 4, that is offensive.
I mean, you look at who's behind him. I don't think Trout should be as high as he is. But you can't put G up there before. Maybe when Cody comes back on, we'll talk about it sometime. But you can't put Stanton ahead of DeGrom or Bogarts or Rodon's contracts. Like, if this is how you're ranking them, I don't think G can be there. I'm not saying he hasn't totally lived up to his contract, but to me, I think those guys are ahead. When you sign these contracts, you almost have Xander. People forget you almost have $300 million into Xander Bogaerts, who I think is an awesome player and a great dude. But that's, G has produced more than that. I get it. He's been hurt, and a lot of this has been based on when he's hurt. But like we just talked about Javi, like when he's out there, he does produce.
Also, playoff ABs matter. And this is not the first time he's done this either, but let's just
good in the postseason.
Laser focus on this past season. Where would the Yankees have been without Giancarlo Stanton just this postseason alone?
And the Marlins are still paying for some of his salaries, so I don't know.
Dominating
Trevor
force.
Story, though, you guys didn't mention him. He's been hurt.
Yeah, it's just a smaller number.
It is a smaller, but still, there's 3 years left. He has barely played, and when he's played, he's struck out so much. I mean, you go to a Red Sox game,
they love him.
They really are trying to get him going.
I agree on the DeGrom
listen,
side.
the Mike Trout one is you had to pay for him when you paid for him, and he wanted to be the highest paid guy at the time. So they gave it to him, right? You can't control the fact he gets hurt. It sucks. I know everyone ages differently, and everyone gets hurt when they age, but DeGrom's not that bad. 5 years, he missed the...
Yeah, but he hasn't pitched yet.
Who?
DeGrom. He's
but
barely
they won a World
pitched.
Series. He did pitch, and they won a World Series year he pitched. So that number, worth it already. Worth it.
I love that.
Worth
I
it.
love
you guys
that
always
argument.
say, well, if they win
I
a World
love
Series, it's all worth it. Boom, Jacob DeGrom. There's your argument.
I love it.
Was it worth it?
That doesn't apply in this situation. This is not Patrick Corbin. Stop. Don't do that. Don't use a legitimate argument in the wrong situation.
Don't use your words against you when they're rightfully used against you.
You can use my words against me, but it doesn't apply in this situation. It's not like Patrick Corbin, who came in through huge, meaningful innings in the World Series in the playoffs, and then the rest of the contract. I get it; it didn't work out. Jacob DeGrom didn't apply.
They won some games with him starting. They don't make the playoffs if he doesn't win those games, so it applies.
That's actually a good point because he
pitched early in the year and they won some games when he pitched.
They barely made it,
and they made the game. They made the playoffs like on the last game of the year. So again, how does it not? It applies.
It's not the same. Not the same when you're talking about
without
a monster
DeGrom. Do they get
contract
Evaldi?
like
Do they get without DeGrom? Do they get Evaldi? Do they get all the rest of the guys, Scherzer, to agree to come there, and all these other people to agree to come there? Though, if DeGrom's not sitting there.
I mean, Scherzer came
there
because
it's worth it.
It was a trade deadline.
It was worth it. Now, let's get to Bogarts. I know for a fact Bogarts, I love Xander. Great teammate, great dude. He was shocked that he got 11 years, $280 million. He was shocked himself.
Peter Seidler was...
He was shocked. He's like, damn, they want to give you that. I'll take it. I'll go there. Who wouldn't?
Padres owner Peter Seidler was in bad health. He was on his deathbed.
Yes. Well, he wasn't quite there yet, but that's...
He was in bad health. He knew that.
He had some health problems.
And I was like, hell yeah, dude. He's a great guy. He wants to win for San Diego, and he's like, I'm going to try and do my best to buy a championship because it's like, screw it. There's no tomorrow, right? Yeah. Let's go for it. So He saw an opportunity with Bogarts. He went after He went after Judge too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The only thing I fault there is, I mean, I think they could have offered him like $30 million less and still gotten him. You know,
Yeah. I said,
think
I
they
just
blew
told you
the other offers
he was
away.
shocked when he got offered what he got offered,
He
and he was like,
was.
"Oh hell yeah, I'll take that." Now let's go to the next one.
$280
Rodon. Yeah, I mean he pitched pretty good for him at
He was
times.
pretty good this year.
So that one I don't. And then Nick Castellanos. First of all, that's not a big.
BS.
That's not a big enough number.
Agreed.
Especially for the Phillies. And what did he do? He was good for him. I mean, there's been ups and downs, but when he's good, he's really good. Plus, he's an awesome interview. He's funny as hell. So I kind of also
but he's had a lot of clutch ABs.
He's had big hits in the. He was great in the playoffs for him. He's the one guy that could hit for him. Against the Mets this year, they had Castellanos.
He gets knocked for his D with the WAR number and all that. They went.
But they knew that when they brought him. They brought him there.
Also, you could DH him. Like he's okay to DH.
Well, they have a guy
at
named
least sometimes.
Schwarber.
I understand, but that's just given the state of the.
But what did
the
Dombrowski
lineup.
say? We're going to bash our way through our defensive problems. And that's pretty much what they've done for the last 3 years.
Can I bring up a candidate, for example, that was in this article who didn't crack the top 10, who is a much worse contract than Castellanos, even though I know it's shorter and smaller? They brought up Candelario. I'm like, Candelario was a negative 0.7 WAR player this year with the Reds. Castellanos was a much better bat than Candelario. And I did not like the signing at the time. We all thought that they needed pitching. Obviously, there was a factor to it where they had a dude that got popped for roids and they had to replace him. But still, it was not a good signing. That's a worse contract. That should be number 10, not Castellanos.
Castellanos,
he's getting
that one doesn't
15
make
a year.
sense to me.
Candelario, I get it. It's 345. Castellanos is 5,100. I don't think Phillies fans are looking back being like, what a waste, right?
I agree.
It's 20 a year. Candelario's getting 15. And there's other guys, too, who fit the bill here. So I was getting pretty hot on some of these names. There's 5 to 7 easy ones, but there's a few here that Kratz, I don't think belong.
Couldn't agree more. And I wasn't going right to my Philly homerism, but Castellanos shouldn't be in that top 10. He has, I mean, just talking this year, he was one of their most consistent hitters down in the second half. But 2023, he was an all-star. He got MVP votes. Like, I feel like I don't know. Again, we'll have to ask Cody again, but I think there's much worse signings than that. And I should have some substance to say behind that, but I don't right now.
There are a lot of good questions from fans about who qualifies, and I honestly don't know the answer for the article. Like, Avisail Garcia was brought up by Zane. Great answer, but they kind of bought him out because they cut him.
Well, Jose Abreu, shouldn't he be on the list?
Same thing.
He's not even playing.
But they cut him. They bought him out. Steven Strasburg, they bought him out. These are good names, but they're not technically on the roster anymore. So that is my guess for how they're judging these
the history. If you go based on like history of the player and then how the contract turned out, I think obviously Strasburg's going to be up there. You had no idea. Let's put it this way. As somebody that doesn't really know Anthony Rendon, I had no idea Anthony Rendon, it was going to happen what happened. Like that he just has, he had 0 home runs and 200+ at-bats this year. Like, no way I saw that happening. The way that Javi Baez wants to go out and play, had no idea. But to me, you look at the Strasburg contract and you have to say, this guy's been hurt. He elected not to pitch in the playoffs early in his career, and then he did well, and then you just, bang, re-signed him right away, and he hasn't pitched. DeGrom, same thing, hasn't really pitched. The forethought of that, you had to know that it was a scary contract going into it.
There's some other misses on here. I mean, Jackson keeps saying Machado. Like, you can't do that. What? The dude produces, he plays. That's.
They shouldn't have extended him, but yeah, that's not a bad contract.
Yeah, I can't sign up for that. I'm trying to see any others here that are even worth bringing up. Actually, you know what I'm learning here? Jake Cronenworth's name brought up, but he had a bounce back year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Corbin, but he's gone now. That doesn't qualify anymore. See, a lot of these names actually just graduated. They were either bought out or it's done. Trey Turner's name brought up. I think Trey Turner's a worse contract than Castellanos.
It's longer.
It's way longer.
It's way longer. And listen,
he's a leg guy.
Castellanos is shorter. Castellanos is less AAV. Trey Turner plays a position in the middle of the diamond, and if you talk to Philly fans, I know he went through it and then they cheered him, but there's still a lot of Philly fans that want more out of Trey Turner. He's a hell of a player, but when you sign a deal like that, especially in a place like Philly, they're always going to be wanting more, right, Kratz?
Oh, couldn't have hit it more on the head. I don't know how he can do right other than winning a World Series, because he had that. Yes, they had the standing ovation. Yes, it was a feel-good story. Philly fans feel like now they're soft because they cheered a guy instead of booed him, but it clearly helped him turn it around and became an all-star. But making the errors and striking out are Philly fans' worst nightmares. They hate him and they never get him out of their mind.
Yeah,
and not stealing enough bases. Let me say that. All they want him to do is when he gets on steal, it's like they have to push him to steal. It's like they have to you have to go. There are times where Philly fans are like, you have to go.
He had his first hamstring this year. You have to remember his first year in Philly, he had that streak where he went crazy. He had 42 straight or something without getting caught.
Yeah.
He had the hammy and he didn't run as much after that.
Okay. So anyway, if you're watching this after the fact, comment with any others that you think stand out. And also, we do have a show that's dedicated to the Phillies, by the way. Yeah, Charles Barkley was on the show once. Todd Zalecki, Jim Salisbury, Ruben Amaro. It's called The Philly Show. It's part of the FT Network. All right, so we're just looking back at modern legends in our sport, and I encourage everyone to check out what we did on Barry Bonds and Barry Larkin, either in our previous live shows or nice little videos that'll be there for you around Christmas time. But let's focus on the captain, the last captain, Derek Jeter. All right.
Derek Jeter.
Exactly. We all know him well. We watched his entire career, at least us three. We're old enough to say it. 1996 Rookie of the Year, a 5-time World Series champion, known simply, in my mind, in modern baseball as a winner. 3,465 hits. He was the World Series MVP in 2000 in that Subway Series against the Yanks. All kinds of Gold Gloves. The batting average in his career was above 300. The OPS was above 800. Instant Hall of Famer. Somebody was being mean. And so he was 396 out of 397. So he wasn't, quote, unanimous. I don't care about that. But dude's a legend. And I don't think it's going to be tough for either of you to talk about him. But, of course, the online community starts to look at rate stats, wins above replacement. You could see that line there. Look at the WAR, boys, from 36 on. It wasn't pretty. And he had some nice numbers. He also had some numbers that were just okay. His glove was very solid, but I would say that's just from the eye test. And back then we didn't have the same D metrics, and I know they try and play catch up on that, but he wasn't the rangiest shortstop in the game when he was playing. He was just the surefire thing. But Todd, Father, you watched Derek Jeter his whole career.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's definite Hall of Famer. We all know that. He's a stud. We talked about a clutch gene, right? And some people believe in that. Some people don't. He had it. If there is a clutch gene, he was one of the top guys. Whenever he came up, it was either an opposite field home run or finding a way to steal a base or making the big play when he needed to get there. Everybody remembers the jump throw that he pretty much created. But he was just an incredible athlete, never got in trouble. Nothing happened to him off the field. Always, you hear some people come out and say, hey, if Derek Jeter didn't play for the Yankees, he would have been a nobody. I still don't believe that. I think he's a ball player. He came up with strong background. He played with some of the best Yankee teams out there. And, the one thing I think of him leading off the game against the Mets with the home run kind of kickstarted them in the Subway Series in 2000. And it just seemed like every big situation he came up clutch for the Yankees. And there were very few that he didn't. And if not, he found a way to make a player be a part in some of the biggest plays. And, man, what a career he had. Phenomenal.
We can't judge character. based on numbers. We can't judge heart and hustle and all that based, he hustled for, 90% of his doubles and all that stuff. We have the numbers. That's all we have to look back on is the numbers. And his numbers were incredible. Because what do we talk about every day with some of the best players in our game? Some of the best, Giancarlo Stanton, unbelievable power, got to stay on the field. Mike Trout, generational player, got to stay on the field. Look at what Anthony Rendon's done, got to stay on the field. Derek Jeter stayed on the field. Derek Jeter was out there. And people were like, if he didn't play for the Yankees, maybe he wouldn't have gotten as much fanfare early in his career. Oh, wait, so who are you saying he's playing for? Because you can't take away the team that he's on and take away his World Series. If you put him on another team and you say, he's 20, let's see, he was 28, he was 27 when he won his 4th World Series. So whatever team he's on, he has 4 World Series rings. And if you think he's just a consistent player, day in and day out, he's consistent, then you have to look at his numbers. 3,456 hits. This man got hits. Whether you think it's because he was out there every day, fine. He was out there. He couldn't field the ball at the end of his career when I played against him. That's why the grass in Yankee Stadium was like this high. It was, you did not hit a ground ball. If you hit a ground ball, shoot, you'd charge, the third baseman would charge and get it before it could even get to Jeter. But you sit there and you go, this dude was on the field and he got his stats because of the fact that he was on the field. Find someone else that has been on the field as much as him for as long as he did, then we can start putting him in the Derek Jeter category, which is HOF, Hall of Fame.
Also, clutch matters. I mean, he's playing big games at all times, right?
Thank you.
You're playing big games as the big bad Yankees during that time period. You're playing in the playoffs. You're a World Series MVP, and obviously had electric World Series numbers in general. That stuff matters. Like Kratz is talking about. Sure, you want to say compiler. Yeah. He compiled 150-ish game seasons and more, right? 160-plus game seasons over and over and over again, playing on a team with a very, very, high-pressure situation at all times. The dude delivered. The overrated part, guys, for me, is definitely bothersome. I just think rated. I mean, if you consider Derek Jeter a top 10 player of all time or something crazy, then yeah, you're way off. But I don't think most people that know baseball consider him in that realm. There was a good question in the chat. Obviously, the chat's popping off, asking if he's in the same regard as some of those old-time Yankee legends. And I'm like, he is for winning, but he's not for performance, right? I don't think anybody's calling him Babe Ruth.
No,
I mean, also,
he's not Mickey
if
Mantle.
we're doing comps like that, yeah, exactly. He's not Mickey Mantle. Very different, okay? And very difficult to pull off comps like that anyway. If you look at the time period Babe Ruth was playing baseball in. But I'll give you a couple other haters because there's plenty of them. Our chat's been okay, but going on Reddit, there's always topics that pop up on this. So I'll give you 2. And most of it just picks on the defense, audacity on Reddit. To be clear, Jeter was a great player. Was talked about like he was the greatest player, which he wasn't. No doubt Hall of Fame, very good hitter. Wasn't great on D. Won a lot of gold gloves based on reputation. Basically same career WAR, OPS, and OPS plus as Barry Larkin. Said Larkin was better defender. Jeter stuck around longer. Larkin, another great player, no doubt Hall of Famer. Nowhere near as famous as Derek Jeter. Yeah, the market factor plays in. The titles play in. That's okay. So, and then one other, Wolves in this Reddit post, just talking about his defensive WAR career, negative 9.4. And like we're talking about, especially deteriorated down the stretch. And some people pointing out how A-Rod should have played shortstop instead of him when he came over. So just different. Defensive metrics were different back then. He was the guy. A-Rod was going to have to move over if they were going to make this all happen. I don't know. It's hard to be critical here, guys. He did what he was supposed to do. And yes, he wasn't the best player in the league at any time, but I never felt that way. I never looked at him that way. And even growing up when he was first in the league, I was pretty young and I still looked at other players like, let's go to the early 90s when he comes up. I didn't go, oh, this guy's better than Ken Griffey Jr. It's just a guy who won and was everything you ask for in a World Series winning shortstop, captain of a big market team with a ton of pressure that was putting together a dynasty.
Let me ask you this.
all-time Yankee shortstops.
I don't know. I'm not good enough at that.
You know what I mean? Like, what is
Yeah.
he? Am I way off by saying he wouldn't be the starting shortstop for an all-time Yankee squad?
I don't know. I don't know the rest of the names. I would have to see the rest of the names and compare it. But I mean, it's our generation.
I was trying to ask Derek this question. He hasn't got back to me, but
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out. I would love to hear some all-time Yankee shortstops. In my opinion, maybe I'm missing one guy where we're like, oh yeah, what are you crazy? I would love to hear. I mean, Rizzuto, maybe Rizzuto and him. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it has to be. I think it has to be Jeter in my
Yeah,
opinion.
but that's fine. I mean, but if Babe Ruth was the shortstop and he was a great glove, it wouldn't have even been in the same category. His
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? His offense was good, and the Yankees don't have 10 insane shortstops in their long history. Just like Larkin's the best shortstop in Reds history, right?
Yeah. But what I'm trying to get at is, some people say I think he's an all-time great Yankee. I think he is. And when you bring up the Yankee lore, I feel like he's got to be a part of that, in my opinion. I don't know what ranking I would give him as an all-time Yankee, but he's got to be talked about. And, he'd be playing with the Mantles and the Babe Ruths and the Marises of the world if they came up with a squad, right?
100%. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I don't know where he ranks there. And, that'd be a longer session to figure out. But to me, like, how good was he? You have to understand, this man played 158 playoff games. And people will say, well, that was his team. That's fine. He still played he played an entire season of playoff games and essentially put up better numbers in the playoffs than he did in his career. So he was in those games, he produced, and you sit there and you have to give him his due, whether you think he was great defensively or not. He was out there and they kept playing him. You can't compare him to anybody else. And I don't believe anybody else is sitting there going, oh, he's the greatest of all time. I don't hear that argument. Is he popular? Absolutely, he's popular. And I think he earned that popularity. And it helped that he was a Yankee.
Yeah. Also, we go wherever we want on this show, so I'll go here. Derek Jeter played his entire career during the steroid era and was never linked to any of that. So again, I wasn't in his house. Many other people were. I wasn't, so I can't tell you anything.
Many other people.
He was squeaky clean. So if he wasn't PEDing and he was playing amongst many players, especially early in his career that were, it's a factor, okay? It's a factor. There were many people, including his longtime Yankee teammate eventually. I mean, A-Rod's an admitted steroid user, and who knows how much he did. But it's hard to make a comparison with those two when you're like, oh, A-Rod was so much better. I'm like, A-Rod was a juicer, admitted juicer. It's a different conversation.
There were so many on the Yankees. I mean, Giambi played with them.
Right,
Francisco Cervelli. Melky Cabrera.
These are guys that got caught, too.
Right, those are the guys that got caught in a big market playing. Like that's neither here nor there. 2014 was his last season. We came in as the Yankees. I mean, we came in as the Royals, and I got to see his dedication day, the day where they celebrated Derek Jeter, and they brought out celebrity after celebrity after celebrity. All this time, I had sent over a jersey to have him sign it, and Michael Jordan comes out. Like the whole stadium, Yankee Stadium was like, whoa, this is what this guy brings out for his celebrity day, like his celebration day. He gets Jordan to come out. Like that was a moment. And the guys started warming up. Everybody started warming up in right field. And at the time, Chase Headley was on the team, and I think Chase Headley was 12. Obviously, Jeter's 2. Chase Headley's warming up on the line, and I see him turn around, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot. So I go up to Kukuza, and I said, Lou, I said, did Jeter sign the jersey I sent over already? He's like, oh yeah, Jeter signs the jerseys right away. I have this jersey actually sitting on my wall right now. And I feel embarrassed, so I have to tell the story. I was like, I'm such an idiot. He's like, what happened? I go, I sent over a Jeter jersey, which I paid full price for. I thought I got this like nice Jeter jersey. never in my mind did I ever think, it says Jeter on it. He never once wore a jersey with his name on it. And I got him to sign this Bobo jersey that I paid full price for that says Jeter on it. So I'm going to hang it up. I'm going to hang it up so everybody knows I'm a buffoon. And then I paid full price for a Bobo jersey with his name on it that he never wore a jersey like that.
That's a rookie mistake, man.
Yeah, it is. But it gives you character, Kratz. It's okay. Yeah.
I've done worse.
Please do tell. Do tell.
I didn't know the origin of that. I didn't know. All right. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. How good was he? 5-time World Series champ, Derek Jeter. If you're watching this after the live show, let us know other names that you want us to throw out there, and we'll cover it. All right.
Oh, there it is.
That's so good. I was waiting for that cookie. Oh, this one hurts. BetMGM Twins win totals as we continue to look back at what the opening line was. Look at that current line is how we started the season. 86.5 was the number. Some people were probably like, yeah, division's crap. Twins didn't do anything in the offseason, but I'll take it. And then they go put up an 82 win total. So it actually wasn't even close down the stretch. The thing is, halfway through the year, if you placed the over on that win total, you're like, oh, I'm good. I'm flying right now. They had a brutal collapse at the end of the season. And here they are. Brutal.
Nobody saw it coming. Nobody saw that coming. Not even just halfway through the year, like August, September. You're like, they'll get there easy. They didn't even come close. No, but they were in it until the second half, like you said, Scott. They kind of just tumbled. Their pitching injuries, their position players injuries just started ratcheting up, and then the Tigers, Royals, Guardians got hot, and they just never could keep up. I mean, and plus they didn't make the moves they needed to make. That's the key.
I was going to say
they didn't make the moves they needed to make, which means last year they didn't trade anybody. They thought they could do it again because they thought the Central would sell. Actually, the Central added, and boom, all of a sudden you're in fourth place.
That hurts. I mean, we talk so much on the show about potential trades. And when you're in a fan base that's supposed to be watching a team in its winning window and it's a complete shutout back-to-back seasons at the trade deadline, that is a gut punch to your fan base. Nothing for 2 straight years. Nothing. They made no moves worth talking about at the trade deadline. How do you do that? 2 seasons in a row?
So you hit the under.
That is how you hit the under. That's gross. There's got to be a better plan there. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the developing situation there. So hopefully there's new ownership eventually. But anyway, we'll look at win totals in 2025, just like we did in 2024 when those get posted. In the meantime, off season gets cold and lonely, but poker's always there for you. We play New Jersey and Michigan player pools are combined. Bigger prize pools, more players involved, more tournaments, more action. So take your seat, experience what BetMGM brings to the table as they merge those player pools and give you over $400,000 in guarantees each week. No better time to get involved on the BetMGM poker app like we are. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. This is it. This is the official end of the 2024 Foul Territory episodes. We did many, too many to count, many hundreds of guests that followed us as well. So just a little appreciation for a minute. I feel like Kratz is the emotional one. So Kratz, do you have anything that you think about? Another year under the sun or whatever people say that are more emotional than me?
I have a hard time looking to the future. That's why resolutions are never good. I just live in the present so much. So, you know what? Enjoy today, just like you're going to enjoy tomorrow, but enjoy tomorrow.
Yeah. And try to make every day and every year your favorite. Like this year was my favorite. Last year was my favorite, but it was topped by 2024. So try and make 2025 your favorite year.
You guys are such saps.
Yeah. Well, what's yours?
You love it. You're a big teddy bear.
What do you think about with 2024?
What do I think about 2024? It's
Yeah.
over, baby. On to 25.
All right, but how about this? You're good at this. Thank you to everybody that helps to make this show what it looks like, what it sounds
Even
like,
Scott and
what it's
producer
all
lady,
about.
who sometimes drive me crazy.
Yeah, you all know who you are. Claudia Olson, Jeremy Meyer, Mark Wiener, and a billion more behind the scenes, obviously.
You forgot Gab.
The show look. Gab obviously directing the show. Derek and Alicia and Michael behind the scenes on socials. Interns, freelancers, all kinds of people that are involved. Guests. Who else?
Other guest hosts.
575 guests, not counting Ken, because Ken doesn't count.
575 guests in 2024. That's a lot of green room, making sure your connection looks good.
It's a lot of peoples.
Yeah. All right. Many, many hundreds more coming up in 2025. Again, appreciate you, FT fam. Shout out to some of the names that you'll see here on the screen. And we will see you in 2025 for more FT every weekday.